The massage stick can be particularly useful for releasing the calves, and it's particularly useful for addressing restrictions in soleus because we can perform the movement with the knee in flexion, therefore putting gastrocnemius on slack, and then we can perform with the ankle in dorsiflexion so that soleus is on a greater amount of stretch. From there, we're using the hands to apply pressure with the stick to the back of the lower leg, and then from there moving the hands up and down, creating a massage effect into the calves. We can perform static stretches into ankle dorsiflexion with or without the use of a step. So if we're performing without a step, we can perform a straight knee ankle dorsiflexion stretch like so. To target more of the gastrocnemius, or we can perform a bent knee calf stretch like so to target more of the soleus. We can do the same thing over a step by placing the balls of the feet on the step and pushing the heel down to stretch into dorsiflexion that way, with a straight knee again to target gastrocnemius, and then with a bent knee to target more our soleus. And then we can also use eccentric strengthening to improve dorsiflexion range of movement. This is most easily done with the use of a step. And we can perform this as a purely eccentric and concentric movement all on one leg, coming up and then making a deliberate focus to lower down into the eccentric phase slowly and with control. Or if the client lacks the capacity to perform the entire movement with two legs, we can perform the concentric portion of the movement with one leg and then perform the eccentric component with one leg. Sorry, I'll just go from there. Or if the person lacks the capacity to do the entire movement with one leg, we can perform the concentric portion of the movement with two legs, take off the non-affected side, and then lower down into the eccentric portion of the movement using one leg. And then making sure that we're lowering down into full range so that a stretch is felt in the muscle. We can also do that with bent knee, so with the knee locked at approximately 30 degrees flexion, coming up, keeping that knee locked in position, and then lowering down into dorsiflexion with the knee staying flexed to target more of our soleus. So in order to improve ankle dorsiflexion range of movement, the most commonly used accessory joint mobilization is an anterior-posterior glide of the talus in relation to the tibia and fibula. So we have the foot moving in this direction. One way we can set up this mobilization is to perform a reverse glide where we use a strap to pull the tibia and fibula forwards in relation to the talus. So we can place a strap around the bottom part of the leg, and essentially we're dorsiflexing the ankle, so bending the foot up, placing the foot in contact with the floor, and then straightening out the knee. And we're using this action to pull the lower aspect of the leg forwards in relation to the foot, which is essentially creating a reverse AP glide of the ankle. We can also use the AP glide of the talus as a mobilization with movement. So essentially we're moving the foot back in relation to the shin while we're bending the foot into dorsiflexion with movement by using a thick resistance band. So this needs to be a very thick, very strong resistance band. And from there, moving the foot back, placing the bottom of the foot in contact with the floor, and from there moving the foot into dorsiflexion, making sure that there's still enough tension on the band as we move the leg forward, that it's providing that forward translation of the shin and therefore creating that AP glide of the ankle. Another strategy we can use is a mobilization with movement where we're applying an external rotation glide of the mortise in combination with a dorsiflexion physiological movement. So to perform the technique, you're taking hold of both the medial and lateral malleolus and performing an external rotation glide of the mortise, and while holding that glide, bringing the ankle into dorsiflexion by moving the knee forwards. This technique can be further reinforced with the use of a lifting strap. So basically wrapping the strap around, ideally with a padded aspect on the outside, if it has a padded aspect, and then from there pulling the strap around to apply that external rotation glide, and then bring the knee forward to dorsiflex the ankle. So whilst biomechanically an AP glide of the talus in relation to the mortise should result in the best improvement in dorsiflexion range of movement, we know that these techniques aren't always so specific, and sometimes we may have a good effect by providing a posterior-anterior glide, so essentially gliding the talus in the opposite direction and still improve our dorsiflexion range. In order to improve ankle plantar flexion range of movement, we want to apply a posterior-anterior glide of the talus in relation to the mortise, so that the foot is moving forward in relation to the shin. So to perform this technique, placing the web of the hand on the back of the heel, with the shin stabilised on a bench, and essentially pushing the foot straight down towards the floor. Most commonly used self-release technique for the muscles of the anterior lower leg is the use of a ball. So essentially placing a ball in the muscular aspect of the shin and rolling the leg forwards and backwards over the ball. So we can also perform an active release technique by using a ball to maintain constant pressure on the shin whilst moving the foot forwards and backwards. We can also perform that movement actively, so performing an active plantar flexion movement in the form of a calf raise, focusing on end range. So self-release technique can be performed for the quadriceps with the use of a foam roller, taking the weight between the forearms and the legs and using the arms to roll the body forwards and backwards over the roller. This can be performed either bilaterally or one leg at a time. We can adjust the angle of the body to hit different areas of the quadriceps, and then we can also combine with an active movement at the knee to perform more of an active release technique. Static stretching of the quadriceps may be performed in standing or in a lunge position to target more of the rectus femoris. So when we have an articular restriction into knee flexion, this often comes post-injury, so it's important that you've cleared this with a medical practitioner. But one technique that we can use is a posterior-anterior glide of the tibia in relation to the femur. And we do this in the form of a joint gapping technique. So to perform the joint gapping technique, we can place a towel in the crease of the knee and then bend the knee using the towel as a fulcrum. And this essentially glides the tibia further forward as the knee goes into flexion. So to perform the technique, placing that rolled up towel in the crease of the knee, and then from there, simply kneel back onto the heel so that we're bending the knee into flexion whilst applying that glide.